Hey, you're there. If you like the content I bring, your help is essential. For the channel to remain active and grow more and more, I need your support. Each new follower is a huge incentive to continue creating exciting stories and videos full of fun and adventures. Also, by subscribing, you help me convert this passion into sustainable work, which allows me to offer you even more surprising content. As soon as you don't forget to subscribe, please like and share. Your participation makes all the difference. She believed in love. Since she was little, she dreamed of happy endings, of eternal promises, of the kind of story that begins with a look and ends with a forever. And when she met Kaio, she thought the universe had finally smiled upon her. He was everything she wanted, attentive, charming, intelligent. He made her feel seen, loved, important. And at that moment, she believed she had won. That life had finally given her something fair. What she didn't know was that love, that look, that smile, all of that would become her greatest downfall, because not every promise is made to be kept, and not every man who says, "I love you," truly knows the weight that those words carry. As the months went by, he changed, little by little. Almost imperceptibly. She said it was stress, work, routine. She blamed herself for his distance, tried to cheer him up, made surprises, prepared dinners, acted strong. But deep down, she felt it. Something inside her screamed. Her intuition whispered that he was no longer there, that his eyes were looking in another direction, that the kiss was automatic, that the touch no longer had a soul. But she insisted, because when you love someone, you fight. And she fought. She fought until there was nothing left of her, until one cold afternoon, with his face washed with contempt, he said, "I don't love you anymore. I met someone else. She makes me feel alive." Her world fell apart. It was as if the ground had opened up and everything she was had been swallowed up. She remained silent. Not a single tear fell immediately. The pain was so great that it numbed her. And Kaio, he left, as if he had just ordered a coffee, without guilt, without regret. She spent days without eating, nights without sleeping. Her body was still, her soul in ruins. She looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman she had become. Thin, dark circles under her eyes, a look that no longer shone. Friends tried to cheer her up, telling her he didn't deserve her. But she didn't want to listen. She wanted to understand how someone could love so much and then not love anymore. And most of all, how she could not see that she was loving alone. She stopped going out. She isolated herself. She turned off her cell phone. Life started happening outside, while inside her, everything was darkness. The bed became a shelter, the pillow an accomplice, and her heart, it just wanted to stop hurting. She relived every moment, every laugh, every lie, because now everything seemed like a lie. The declarations, the plans, the promises, everything thrown away by someone who didn't have the courage to be honest. She tried to understand, what did the other woman have that she didn't? What made Kaio choose someone new instead of rebuilding what they had? But these questions never came with an answer, and the only thing she could feel was emptiness. Months passed, slowly. The pain didn't go away, but it changed shape. Before, it was suffocating. Now it burned. But on that specific day, she looked in the mirror and saw something she hadn't seen in a long time. Anger. Not at him, at herself. For having erased herself for someone. For having made herself so small to fit into the world of a man who didn't know how to value her. And it was on that day, at that exact moment, that something changed. For the first time, she dressed for herself. She put on lipstick. She tied her hair up. And she went out. Not to show that she was okay, but to start being okay. Because even though it still hurt, she understood that no one would come to save her. She was her own salvation. She threw herself into classes, the gym, therapy. She cried between classes, but she kept going. It wasn't about appearing strong, it was about not giving up. She learned to say no, to set limits, to choose herself. Little by little, she started to laugh again. For real, people noticed. Her friends came back, and over time, their looks too. But now, she was different. She wasn't dazzled by pretty words. She wanted attitude. She wanted presence. She wanted reciprocity. And Kaio. She started to watch from afar. She sent empty messages. "I miss you." She read them and ignored them, because now she knew the man who destroyed her would never have the honor of seeing her reborn. Kaio insisted. He sent flowers. He said it was a mistake, that he realized too late what he had lost. But she was no longer the same. The woman who had fallen apart for him was in the past. Now there was a strong, firm, whole woman who knew that an apology does not erase abandonment, that it is not possible to love someone who saw us in pieces and chose to leave. She did not answer, not because she wanted to play games, but because there was nothing more to be said. What existed now was silence. And in that silence, there was peace. For the first time in a long time, peace. Over time, she built a new life. She moved to another city, started over from scratch. She got a good job, made new friends, and traveled alone. In every corner, in every step, she carried one certainty. She would never again beg for love. She would never again accept less than she deserved. And the most ironic thing of all, she was happier now, alone, than she had ever been with anyone. Because the self-love that was born from pain was stronger than any empty promise. And when Kaio showed up unexpectedly, trying to revive what he had destroyed, she just smiled. "You look different," he said. "No, I just went back to being who I was before I diminished myself for you." He tried to hold her hand, but she pulled away. "Kaio, you didn't lose me now. You lost me when you turned your back on me while I was begging for crumbs." He remained silent, maybe waiting for a chance, maybe regretful, but she was no longer made of waiting. She thanked him, turned her back, and left. For the first time, she chose herself, and he never looked back. She returned home that day with a light heart. She had freed herself, not only from Kaio, but from guilt, fear, and the need for approval. She understood that sometimes the greatest falls come to teach us how to fly. That pain is not the end, but the beginning of something greater. And in that beginning, she finally found herself again. The woman that Kaio destroyed was just a shell. Because inside, she was always more, much more. And now, the whole world would know. She opened an Instagram profile. She started telling her story, without filters, without lies. Women started to identify with her, to share. She became a voice, a force, an example, not because she had never suffered, but because she had transformed pain into power, her wound into strength. She didn't want fame. She wanted the truth, and she got it. Over time, she received lectures, invitations, podcasts. Her story went viral, not because it was perfect, but because it was real. And while thousands of people were moved by her journey, she continued to live her truth. Sometimes it still hurt, of course, but now the pain was not a prison. It was a memory of everything she was, and most importantly, of everything she chose to be. And if one day someone asked her how she did it, she would answer, "I needed to be destroyed, to finally rebuild myself, because sometimes rock bottom is just the beginning of our climb." She became a reference. Her name was mentioned in articles. Her face was featured in campaigns about new beginnings. But deep down, None of that mattered as much as the woman she saw in the mirror. That woman who once cried alone on the bathroom floor now smiled with pride. Not because she didn't suffer, but because she won. And that was her greatest victory. Not over Kaio, but over everything they tried to make her believe was her limit. She passed by him once. Years later, Kaio was old, his gaze lost, his shoulders hunched. He tried to make conversation. She smiled politely, but it didn't stay, because now she no longer needed to prove anything to anyone. She knew who she was. She knew what she deserved. And above all, she knew that her life would never again fit into a small love. Today, she lives in peace, not because she found another love, but because she found herself again. She learned that self-love is not about ego, it's about survival, and that sometimes we need to lose everything to finally find ourselves. And so, she continued, strong, whole, invincible, because at the end of the day, she didn't just survive, she blossomed.